1 year ago, the United States had hoped to destroy Al Qaeda once and for all.
The men and women of our armed forces have delivered a message now clear to every enemy of the United States. You will not escape the justice of this nation.
The final battle was supposed to be here in a mountain retreat called Tora Bora. As the bombs dropped, an army of Afghan mercenaries advanced. Around 250 Al Qaeda fighters were killed or captured, but another 700 escaped. Tonight, Frontline reporter Martin Smith follows their trail from the borderlands of Pakistan across the Gulf of Oman to Saudi Arabia and Yemen in search of Al Qaeda.
The words of the song say, "My country is the most beautiful in the world. The air and the water are so sweet." My driver played me the tape. What the song doesn't say is that this is also Al Qaeda country.
This is a gorge that takes us up to the Afghan border, that takes us up to a town called Arandu. The locals in the town say that up along this border, U.S. troops are patrolling for Al Qaeda.
4 years ago, after the bombings of 2 U.S. embassies in East Africa, I began reporting for Frontline on Osama bin Laden's Al Qaeda network. Now Frontline has asked me to come to Pakistan and the Middle East to track what happened to the Al Qaeda operatives and foot soldiers who fled Afghanistan in the fall of 2001.
This right in front of us here is Afghanistan.
We'd heard rumors that some of Al Qaeda's leaders came across near this border post.
Has he seen or heard about anything?
I asked if anyone had seen any Al Qaeda men. They said they'd only heard about American troops about 40 kilometers away.
More than 250.
More than 250 U.S. soldiers.
This was just the beginning of our investigation into the border regions of Pakistan, an area reputed to harbor hundreds of Al Qaeda fighters.
An American officer visited this place by himself.
It would take weeks for us to unravel what is really happening here.
Helicopters.
Our journey began in England a few weeks earlier. London is home to 1 million Muslims. A few are militant extremists with ties to bin Laden and Al Qaeda. Abu Hamza al-Masri, an Egyptian, preaches at the Finsbury Park Mosque in North London. 20 years ago, he lost both his hands and an eye in a landmine explosion in Afghanistan.
We think it is a plot from America anyway.
There are investigators who believe that Sheikh Abu Hamza is a terrorist himself. They point out his mosque once offered military training. Al-Qaeda's Zacharias Moussawi, the so-called 20th hijacker, and Richard Reed, the shoe bomber, were among his congregation.
What has happened to Al Qaeda?
They've gone in the mountains, they've gone in the other countries, they've changed their names, they've shaved their beard. Some they've lost their families, and some they are waiting to retaliate.
As a British citizen, Abu Hamza's freedom is protected, but he is wanted in both the U.S. and Yemen on terrorist conspiracy charges.
You've picked a fight with the whole Muslim nation. Our holy war is basically the only war we can go. We don't go and fight for democracy. We don't go and fight for a land. We don't go and fight for a certain group. This kind of fight doesn't bring your soul back to you. We fight for God and for the message of God and for the messengers of God and for the return to God, nothing else.
I also visited a longtime source, Saad al-Faqih, a Saudi dissident in exile with his own ties to bin Laden. Just last year, it was revealed that one of bin Laden's satellite phones had been purchased with al-Faghi's credit card, an issue he doesn't want to discuss. Today, he was showing me that Al-Qaeda thrives in internet chat rooms. Al-Qaeda, he says, survives on many levels.
Al-Qaeda does not work like a hierarchy. Al-Qaeda regards itself as a college or university, which have people coming into courses and then graduated. And then they settle down somewhere geographically, somewhere socially, somewhere mentally or intellectually, and somewhere in terms of profession and their job.
You have your ear to the ground. Have you been told where Al-Qaeda went to?
No, we have not yet been told specifically. I mean, the main bulk, I think what the Western intelligence talking about, Eastern Afghanistan, Western Pakistan, is not far from the truth. They could well be there. The main bulk of Al-Qaeda and Al-Qaeda leaders. I would not expect bin Laden to leave Afghanistan. If he would leave Afghanistan, he would leave it to a place in the border of Pakistan and keep moving in and out. I would not expect him to leave Afghanistan forever.
We arrived in Pakistan just a few days after the U.S. State Department issued a travel warning urging all Americans to stay away. Those already in the country, it said, should depart. We were headed for the Borderlands, Al-Qaeda's new refuge. Before driving too far, we were stopped and provided a truckload of soldiers.
Right, these are the police that are escorting us.
We had no choice.
Apparently it's not safe to travel through here without an armed guard.
It is sad that a country so beautiful is, in fact, hostile. But signs along the way clearly describe the people's allegiances. Our translator, Shamim, said the people here were especially bitter about the American bombing of Afghanistan. Apparently, many young men were recruited to fight the Americans by a local religious leader.
From 7 to 10,000 people in last October.
He sent those people into Afghanistan to fight the Americans.
To fight against the Americans, to fight against the...
So they joined forces with the Taliban and with Al-Qaeda.
Yes, and you know that majority of these people are still missing. Therefore, people from this area, they are too much angry.
The people from this area are angry?
Angry because their youngsters are missing in Afghanistan still. Therefore, it is considered a dangerous area for the newsmen in general.
We proceeded cautiously. I'd heard about some reports coming from Afghan intelligence sources that bin Laden himself had been sighted in this area just a few weeks back.
This is Deer, which is from the northwest frontier province, and we got here last night. We were told that we couldn't go on the streets and film because it was too dangerous.
An armed guard had been posted outside. He wasn't just standing there to protect us from intruders. He was there to prevent us from heading out into the streets. Confined to the hotel, we sent local messengers out and invited people to come talk.
I see on the roadside there are slogans that say, "Long live Mullah Omar and Osama bin Laden."
Oh.
Some of the people support bin Laden.
Oh, yes. Why not? Support. Especially after the Afghanistan war.
After the Americans started bombing
bombing
in October.
People came maximum to against the America.
Did the people of Deer come out into the streets?
Yes.
Where?
On this road. From this road too. Especially this side.
You were here during the demonstrations? You were on the streets demonstrating?
Yes.
Yes. What did they say?
They said Bush dog, Bush Musharraf dog.
They said Bush is a dog, Musharraf is a dog.
But as much as people told us they hated America's bombs, everyone denied there was any Al-Qaeda here.
Here
there's no Al Qaeda. It never existed. Afghanistan is very far from here. Give me your address. I'll let you know if I ever see them.
I have not heard any information. We have no any information about Al Qaeda. Please.
The mayor also had nothing to say.
I assure you that don't discuss this topic with me, because this is they are not related to us.
And when we tried to push farther, we were stopped.
Where are you going?
To Maghera.
Straightly?
Straightly, maybe we see something, we stop, I don't know.
Don't try to see, please.
Why?
Situation is not okay. So
We were trying to go into one of the nearby tribal areas, but we were told time and again to forget it.
What's the problem then?
We found out that these days even Pakistani journalists aren't getting in.
How come reporters can't go into this area anymore?
The reporters can go, but the government says that we cannot guarantee your safety.
But they won't let me past a roadblock.
Yeah, they would say that you have to have a government permission, a written government permission to
A non-objection certificate.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But I can't get a non-objection certificate.
Yeah, because they think that if you go inside, you'll be kidnapped and you'll be made another Daniel Pearl.
You think that's true?
Partly, yeah.
You think it's true that if I went into the tribal
Yeah,
areas,
you run a grave risk if you go inside there. Yeah, sure.
The tribal areas of Pakistan collectively make up a border belt of about 10,000 square miles. On paper, they belong to Pakistan. In fact, they're beyond control.
It is a free zone. It is not a matter of free zone after 11 September. It's a free zone since 200 years.
Ahmed Zaidan is Al Jazeera's bureau chief in Islamabad, Pakistan's capital. He was one of the last journalists to interview Osama bin Laden. The tribal people, he says, offer protection for Al Qaeda because they are Pashtuns with ethnic ties to Afghanistan.
I don't believe that wholeheartedly they are with Pakistan. And if you go there, you will feel that the food is Afghani food. You know, psyche is Afghani, Afghani psyche. The mood is Afghani mood. And, you know, they are looking to Kabul more than they are looking to Islamabad.
Until recently, the central government in Islamabad had never asserted its control of the tribal areas. The president of Pakistan is General Pervez Musharraf.
We never went in there. For more than a century, nobody went in there. So therefore, it was very difficult for them to even accept Pakistanis there. So therefore, to accept a foreigner, and least of all, may I say, an American, it's going to be very difficult. They are not going to like it.
Well, you don't control that part of the country.
Well, no, these are weaknesses in the law enforcement agency, one can say. And secondly, it's just not humanly possible. So therefore, these people did cross the borders. And if you've seen the borders and you've been to the tribal area, if you see the mountains, it's just not humanly possible.
Hayat, how are you? Since our chances of ever getting into the tribal areas were slim, we arranged to meet a journalist who could go there.
I live in this area.
His name is Hayatullah Khan. As a Pashtun, he is native to the area and able to come and go.
What's the situation up in there now? What's happening?
They are the whole of the people. There is a silent supporter of Al Qaeda and Taliban.
This is a camera that we'll be giving you.
We sent Hayat off with a list of places to visit and a set of questions to ask. He would be our proxy in the tribal areas.
Good!
The United States faces its own access problems here. U.S. troops have been allowed only on the Afghan side of the border. U.S. presence in Pakistan is small, hidden, and extremely sensitive. General Taj ul-Haq is commander of the Frontier Corps, a force of 65,000 soldiers.
Can you discuss what presence there is of Americans inside Pakistan?
At best a dozen.
At best a dozen?
Yes, but not the forces. Basically the ground receiving stations, you can call them, just for intelligence information.
So these are either FBI or CIA signal intelligence people?
This is just the signal intelligence people, just to download and pass it on to the executing agencies.
The man who runs Pakistan's war on terrorism is Moinuddin Haider.
No, I mean, FBI tells our agencies, FBI cannot go anywhere in Pakistan alone. There will be no success, there will be zero success, let me assure you. FBI on its own can do nothing in Pakistan. This, we should be very clear.
Pakistan's religious conservatives are especially sensitive about U.S. presence here. Pakistan is an Islamic republic. It officially recognized and supported the Taliban in Afghanistan. And for many years, Pakistan's security agency, the Inter-Services Intelligence, or ISI, encouraged religious fanaticism. The ISI felt they needed jihadis to fight in Kashmir against their nemesis, India. They even arranged for young jihadis to train in Al-Qaeda's Afghan camps. There are as many as 10 jihadi armies operating in Pakistan.
There are 50,000 strong, militant, armed people. Most of these people had deep connections with the establishment, the security apparatus of Pakistan, the intelligence agencies. And these people are very religious. They cannot stand to any notion that the government or army is challenging the people who are religious people, who are religiously motivated people.
It's kind of a messy situation to untangle. If you've got Al Qaeda and these jihadi groups being tight before 9/11, and now after 9/11, the Americans pressure Musharraf to sort of untangle this mess, it's not something that gets done overnight.
It's very complicated. It's very complicated. It's a very difficult message to convey to these jihadis. So the army and the government, General Musharraf, has to be very cautious. And that's why he's walking on a very tight rope.
The link between Al-Qaeda and Pakistan's jihadis was made very clear in 1998. That year, the U.S., hoping to kill bin Laden, fired cruise missiles into an Al-Qaeda camp in Afghanistan. The attack killed 21 members of a Pakistani jihadi group, Harakat al-Mujahideen. They were attending a terrorist summit meeting at the camp. Harakat is still affiliated with Al-Qaeda.
You knew as far back as '98 that these groups, some of these groups had, Harakat Mujahideen, had taken training in Al-Qaeda camps.
No, Al-Qaeda was not a known factor at all. The issue was Kashmir, yes, where India used to say that there is cross-border terrorism going on, and we always said that this is an indigenous freedom struggle, and we never called them terrorists. And we never spoke of Al-Qaeda till this missile attack against Afghanistan, where this Osama bin Laden emerged. Now that was late in year 2000, I think.
The missile attack on him was in '98. August 21st of 1998, the host camp, there were missiles sent in, killed 21 Harakat members.
Harakat members. Yes, well, I'm not very familiar with the dates. But again, this was not, yes, this was Harakat, all right, but no talk of Al-Qaeda. I don't think so at all.
But in February, bin Laden had announced the Islamic Front against Crusaders and Jews, and signing that was the Pakistani Scholars Association, a Pakistani extremist group. There was training going on in Afghanistan. Why didn't you crack down sooner on them?
No, that was not possible. As I said, the environment was totally different.
But Pakistani jihadis have continued to affiliate with Al-Qaeda. In February 2002, they helped bin Laden's chief of recruitment, Abu Zubaydah, move through the tribal areas to Faisalabad, a city near the Indian border and a major jihadi base. Abu Zubaydah settled in this house with a group of Yemenis, Saudis, and Sudanese. The ISI monitors Faisalabad's jihadis closely, but Zubaydah's presence went unreported.
What triggered the raid on Faisalabad in March?
Well, I think there was a lead by FBI because some of these people were using communications which we don't have the equipment to monitor, but FBI did. And police went in for action, which was very successful.
The FBI had traced a satellite phone call and then gave the coordinates of the house to the Pakistani authorities. Pakistani security forces arrived in the early morning hours of March 28th.
We reached the house at 2:15. I announced on the bullhorn, "You are surrounded." We asked them to surrender. They said we will not surrender under any circumstances. We broke down the doors and went up the stairs to the roof.
Soon, Inspector Khalid would be face to face with Abu Zubaydah, who would employ a tactic often used by Al-Qaeda fighters when they are cornered.
He said, "Tell us who you are." I said, "We are Muslims and we are policemen." He said, "No, you are not Muslim."
You are not Muslim. Whenever these people are caught, they always play a Islamic card. They always play a Muslim card. They like to, motivate their interrogators. They like to, influence their interrogators. And in most cases, they say, "You can kill us, no problem."
He said, "Allah Akbar 3 times. I am ready to be a martyr. Kill me." He grabbed me by the neck. There were scratches on my throat. When he got shot, he let go of me. He was a brave and courageous man. I have never seen such a brave man in my entire career. When we point the Kalashnikov at somebody, they usually throw their weapons away. But even though he saw my Kalashnikov and all of our other weapons, he remained calm and determined. "I will not surrender. Whatever you say, you may shoot me."
Abu Zubaydah was shot 3 times, in the stomach, in the legs, and groin, and then rushed to a local hospital. He survived his injuries and was handed over to the United States. In the spring of 2002, there were a number of other clashes with Al-Qaeda, mainly in the tribal areas, in places we asked our Pashtun reporter Hayatullah to investigate.
This is a tribal jargon.
In all, Hyatt spent 7 days shadowing tribesmen and the army in North and South Waziristan. He brought back 16 hours of exclusive material from places that have rarely been photographed.
This home is demolished by the tribal elders and the political administration. It is a demolished home of Al Qaeda.
He showed us this footage from a battle site in Wana in South Waziristan. Tribesmen here had sheltered 30 Al-Qaeda fighters. When the army moved in, Al-Qaeda opened fire and 10 Pakistani soldiers died.
This is the blood of a soldier, Pakistani soldier. And this is the whole situation of the bloody area.
All 30 Al-Qaeda men escaped. Historically, the Waziris are the most feared of all Pashtun peoples. A 1911 encyclopedia states that the Waziris are a race of robbers and murderers. What they are is fiercely independent. In the last 100 years, they've fought off all invaders, laying the British to rest in 1900 and helping their Pashtun brothers in Afghanistan defeat the Russians in 1989. Now, they are determined to keep out the Americans. When they are not fighting outsiders, they fight each other.
Now we are traveling in a most dangerous area because we lessen the firing of the two tribes, the two rival tribes, and the area is very risky.
The government of Pakistan has always operated on the assumption that any effort to impose law and order here will seriously backfire. But now, under pressure from the U.S., they are trying to make deals with the tribesmen.
About 4 months ago, the tribal leaders were called and told that if you don't listen to us, the Americans are going to bomb you out here. And so you must understand this.
No question in your mind that Al-Qaeda has used those tribal areas as a sanctuary?
A sanctuary, yes, absolutely, yeah, definitely, oh sure.
The people reached an agreement with us that if they give protection to anyone, anybody found giving protection to Al-Qaeda members, any foreigner, his house will be destroyed and he will have to pay 700,000 Pakistani rupees. Now that is a very heavy sum.
That's about $10,000.
It's about $10,000, a little over $10,000. And the people of this area are very poor people. They can't pay that kind of money. Right now, every individual, Malik, the elders, they are with us.
But do the tribesmen support the government against Al Qaeda? 2 days before our reporter arrived in this town, Jon L, a group of 8 young men came through this checkpost chanting Allahu Akbar, God is great. Their cries awoke a guard, and an argument ensued. But before the men could be arrested, an angry group of 200 tribesmen gathered and wrestled them away, telling the police the men were religious scholars. The police claimed the tribesmen had 4 Al Qaeda men among the 8 and called in the Pakistani army. With a concealed camera, Hyatt was able to take these exclusive pictures of the operation. In the Battle of Jon L, the army used mortars and tank cannons. When it was over, 15 houses had been demolished, including the home of a local religious leader. More than a dozen tribesmen were arrested. But the 8 so-called scholars, including the 4 Al Qaeda suspects, remain under the protection of locals. 1 day later, there were protests. Stoking the people's anger about the pursuit of Al Qaeda, the religious parties swept 52 seats in Pakistan's recent parliamentary elections. They'd never before held more than 4. These results shook Pakistani politicians, raising questions about how aggressively the war on terrorism can be pursued here without destabilizing President Musharraf.
You think that Bush knows what kind of arrangement that he's gotten himself into here?
Oh, sure, he does, but I think he cannot afford to disturb this equation. He just cannot afford to, because he doesn't know, because if Musharraf goes, what comes next? The bottom line with Pakistan is that they don't want to have an armed rebellion in the tribal areas. They don't want to take things to a limit where there is an armed rebellion. And they can be, because these people are armed to teeth. They have heavy machine guns, they have got artillery, they have got tremendous amount of firepower available with them.
No U.S. forces have been allowed in the tribal areas. Even though there is active speculation that this is where Osama bin Laden is still hiding. By the summer of 2002, the hunt for Al Qaeda was heating up in Pakistan's biggest city, Karachi. Several thousand Arabic-speaking people live here, and Al Qaeda's Arabs can fit in easily.
Karachi is a very, very big city. 12 million population, and it's very easy for you to hide over there. It's not a big deal, and it's very difficult for Americans to bomb Karachi, for example. And at the same time, it's very difficult to find out the exact location of those people. I mean, in Karachi, where there are more than 12 million.
On the anniversary of the September 11th attacks, the day before we arrived in Karachi, the police took up positions around this deserted apartment house. They had been tipped off to look on the top floor. The shootout lasted 3 hours. Afterwards, the police emerged with this man, Ramzi bin al-Shib, a former member of Al Qaeda's Hamburg, Germany cell, which played a leading role in the planning and execution of the 9/11 attacks. Bin al-Shib had been living in the apartment for a month. One of his dying roommates left his captors a message in blood. What was found in the house in Karachi?
2 laptops, lots of diskettes, money, weapon, grenades, things like that.
There was nothing, there were no messages in blood?
No, message in blood was, you know, the basic kalma that Allah is great and Muhammad, peace be upon him, is his true prophet.
God is great in blood on the wall?
Yes, he said God is great and Prophet Muhammad is his true prophet.
In total, the Karachi raid netted 8 Yemenis, 2 Egyptians, and a Saudi. However, the police now believe they just missed capturing another major Al Qaeda figure. His wife and child were found in the apartment, but he was gone. His name is Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. He is the current head of Al Qaeda's military committee, and the FBI now believes he was the chief mastermind of 9/11. Investigators think he is either still hiding in Karachi, perhaps in disguise, or he might have fled across the Gulf.
A big number of Arabs left by sea from Pakistan and Iran to their countries.
By sea?
By sea.
By small boats?
By small boats, you know. A big number of people are there. Their business is smuggling. They're looking for money, and they do it very easily.
There are so many rackets which are going on. People go in boats towards Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Muscat. We have deployed additional security forces, people there, and we are very alert on the Makran coast border now for the last several months.
Once they leave, they must run a gauntlet of ships in the Gulf of Oman. This is a Canadian destroyer, part of a dragnet of more than 100 warships from a dozen countries patrolling these waters. Since November of 2001, they've hailed over 17,500 vessels.
Visit your vessel, over.
But they've netted only 4 low-level Al Qaeda suspects. 2 are shown being caught in this video. The coalition admits that many other small boats can pass undetected at night. They head for Oman, Yemen, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates. The Gulf states are where many of Al Qaeda's men and most of Al Qaeda's money comes from. We came here to Saudi Arabia, where Osama bin Laden was born and raised. With some music in our tape deck, we could easily be somewhere in the American Southwest. Riyadh, with its 4-lane highways lined with condos and fast food joints, could be Phoenix. But this is a strange land. It's a society of non-stop propaganda, where power is absolute and conformity strictly enforced. It is ruled by a family which today is functionally headed by Crown Prince Abdullah. We were allowed to watch his weekly majlis, where subjects line up and jostle one another in hopes of getting a few seconds and a favor from their leader. Suddenly, I was given the opportunity to ask him 2 questions.
Why do you think there's so much distrust between the United States and Saudi Arabia?
His Highness is asking you the question, who's the reason? Why is it this way?
I had been told that the Crown Prince had never done a TV interview before. I tried again.
Who do you believe is behind this trend?
I'm asking you the question.
I'm the one that asks questions, and you're supposed to answer. The fact that has gripped America in great fear is the 15 of the 19 hijackers came from this country, unfortunately. So they are asking, what kind of country produced these people?
His Highness is saying that we could ask the same question about Timothy McVeigh. Who produced Timothy McVeigh? Who produced these kids who go to schools and shoot around?
Saudi Arabia is a contradictory country. It may look like the West, and oil money has brought a flood of Western goods, but the wrenching changes to what only a few years ago was a tribal society has brought a strong counter-reaction from religious conservatives. In this mall, we saw the Mutawa, the religious police, patrolling to make sure no girls talk to boys or no Saudi woman drops her veil. The Mutawa represent a part of Saudi society that at its extremes include many who are deeply sympathetic with Al Qaeda. These sympathies have made the Saudis reluctant to speak publicly about how much they are cooperating in the war on terrorism. Saudi Foreign Minister is Prince Saud Al Faisal.
There is a reticence. We are shy people, basically, that come out and say, I did this and I did this and I did that, is against the nature of the desert people.
Of the foot soldiers who have been arrested and handed over to the Americans and are in Guantanamo, most are Saudis, though. The largest number of them are Saudis.
I don't know the exact number, but I will take your word as the truth. It could be. I think you must understand how shocking it was for Saudi Arabia to wake up one day and find that your son is a mass murderer.
It took 5 months for the Saudi government to admit that most of the hijackers were Saudis, even denying it long after the Americans provided DNA evidence. The U.S. is pressing for more frankness. They are especially interested in 6 radical Saudi sheikhs, religious leaders who investigators believe may help them uncover Osama bin Laden's network in Saudi Arabia. One of them is Salman al-Auda.
Is bin Laden a bad man? A bad Muslim?
He is a Muslim. I believe that the American administration and its bullying of the world is forcing an increasing number of Muslims to think differently.
In 1994, al-Auda was leader of a protest against the government known as the Buraidah Uprising. Al-Auda called for an end to government corruption. He was thrown in jail for 5 years. He now refuses to talk about what I came to discuss.
You knew bin Laden, you met bin Laden, did he?
I think we should end this. We have digressed from the subject that we agreed upon.
It was clear that he would not or could not speak his mind. After an hour of trying, we left. A few days later, we flew south to Yemen. Osama bin Laden also has close ties to this country. His late father was born in Yemen. His 4th wife is from here. Bin Laden once told a reporter, the choice is between Afghanistan and Yemen. The geography of Yemen is mountainous, and its people are armed tribespeople. It allows one to breathe clean air without humiliation.
There is this romantic notion in the minds of some Islamists in the Middle East and even East Asia that Yemen is a place to be safe. Now, bin Laden believes, and others, they think that the mountains of Yemen are the most fortified, the safest place to ever be there. And even they quote the Prophet in a false hadith, we call it. If crises prevail, you have to run to Yemen. And that is in the books for hundreds of years.
Yemen, like Pakistan, has large tribal areas, which are among the poorest regions in the Middle East. Historically, the country has been isolated. It also has been a haven for Al Qaeda. The U.S. was so concerned about Yemen that in 2001, President Bush appointed the State Department's counterterrorism chief, Edmund Hull, as U.S. ambassador.
How present is Al Qaeda in Yemen?
Al Qaeda has a number of operatives here, a number of cells. It's not on this scale of Afghanistan where you had fixed, large-scale training camps. It's rather a limited number of people who are active and play important roles in the international Al Qaeda network.
And how active?
We know that they are planning, we know that they are equipping, we have to presume they're training, and they can identify targets and plan effectively against targets.
Since 9/11, 8 terrorist attacks have rocked Yemen's capital, Sana'a. The attacks were in part a response to the government's detention of over 100 Al Qaeda suspects. A group called Sympathizers of Al Qaeda distributed leaflets after 2 of the bombings.
It's a group, capital S, Sympathizers of Al Qaeda, that wrote these communiques. Who are these people? Weren't they saying that if there's not a release of these people?
No, they were saying if you don't release our brothers, they are still saying this,
they'll bomb.
We will continue to bomb.
Right.
And they are still saying this today.
America woke up to terrorism in Yemen in October of 2000, when the attack on the USS Cole left 17 U.S. soldiers dead. In the ensuing investigation, the FBI was continually frustrated by the lack of cooperation from the Yemeni police. After September 11, 2001, President George Bush called his Yemeni counterpart, President Ali Abdullah Saleh, and asked him to come to Washington. Behind the photo op smiles, there was tough talk. Bush told Saleh that he wanted 2 important Al Qaeda lieutenants handed over immediately. Foreign Minister Abu Bakr al-Kurbi was at the meeting.
The U.S. gave you their names and told you that they wanted them arrested. Yes.
The men were Mohammed al-Adil and Ali Qaid Sinan al-Harithi, one of Al Qaeda's top operatives and the alleged mastermind of the Cole bombing. Both men were said to possess guns, satellite phones, computers, and lots of money. And President Saleh knew where they were. On December 18th, Saleh sent an elite army squadron led by his son to capture both men.
And when the armed forces go to the tribal area, you know there are tribal traditions about discussing the issue with the tribesmen. Unfortunately, as these negotiations were going on about handing the 2 operatives to the security forces, a helicopter came up hovering over the area. The tribesmen got alerted, were anxious that they were going to be attacked, and there was exchange of fire. And this exchange of fire, in this exchange, the Yemeni security forces lost about 22 soldiers. And unfortunately, the 2 who were supposed to be arrested managed to escape.
We drove to the scene of the shootout. The road descends from Yemen's eastern mountain range into the Arabian desert, the Aruba al-Khali, or empty quarter, 250,000 square miles of sand. It's a dangerous area. In the past 5 years, more than 100 foreigners have been taken captive by tribesmen. Most have been exchanged for ransom. 4 have been killed. The government has recently introduced 2,000 new troops to beef up its presence here. After 3 hours, we arrive in Marib and stop at the local gun market to see what's for sale. Practically every boy here over 14 carries a Kalashnikov. Just a few years ago, anyone with enough cash could buy anything from a .50 caliber machine gun to a used Russian tank. Next, we go to meet the elders of the Abida tribe. We show up just in time for the daily khat chew, or in Arabic, makil. Every afternoon, Yemenis gather to stuff their cheeks with the leaves and stems of this plant, relax, and talk. Chewing khat, which is a stimulant, generally makes you more talkative. But when I ask the village sheikh about Al-Harithi and Al-Adil, he denies knowing anything.
ما عندنا قاعدة هنا في الأرض هذه خاصة في مارب ما فيه ولا لها وجود ولا نعرف عن القاعدة إلا من الأعلام.
هذه البيوت اللي كانوا يعتقدون أن الأهدل فيها.
The one on the right. And Al-Harithi lived there?
They believe that he used to be lived there in one of the
Come back there.
Well, let's walk over there and let's walk over. Can we walk over there?
When I ask to go closer to the houses, my government minders conspire to keep us away. They say it's unsafe.
Can I talk to one of the farmers?
بس لو ما حد موجود الآن.
هو بيجلس يحقق معه، كان جبنا له واحد غير ما يجلس ساعة وهو يتكلم معه وما بقول.
Like this young man, was he here?
No.
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 Can we ask him?
No.
Reportedly, 6 villagers were killed in the shootout, but Al-Harithi and Al-Adl were not handed over. This was the situation when I spoke to Minister Al-Kirby in October of 2002.
Al-Harithi and Al-Adl, they're still protected by a tribal elder. Why can't you arrest them? Why can't you take care of that situation?
Well, I think the security forces are tracing them. One doesn't want to go just and attack an area without being absolutely sure that they are there, because this is going to maybe cause a lot of suffering to the innocent people, and we may lose also the sympathy and the support of these people.
We're talking 8, 9 months, yes. 10 months that these guys have eluded your capture.
It is not an inability of catching them, it's an inability to locate them. And this is where we need the sophisticated equipment from the Americans and to be able to trace them and locate them. And this is what they are helping us with now.
One day after that interview, Al Qaeda struck again. This time, it was a French oil tanker just off Yemen's coast. It raised the stakes all the more on finding Al-Harithi. So the Americans struck a deal with President Saleh. The United States would be allowed to track Al-Harithi in Yemen and kill him. However, so as not to politically compromise Saleh, the Americans agreed that their operation would have to be a secret. On November 3rd, with the approval of President Bush, an unmanned CIA aircraft fired a missile at a car traveling near Marib. The Yemenis said that Al-Harithi and 5 other men were killed by a bomb that exploded by accident in their trunk. When a leak from the Pentagon blew his cover, President Saleh was angry. Meanwhile, the hunt for Al-Qaeda goes on. Al-Adl is still free. The U.S. and Yemen are also interested in this man.
It's basically you pick on us and we retaliate back.
The radical London cleric Sheikh Abu Hamza is wanted in the U.S. for questioning. Yemen wants to extradite him for his role in a 1998 kidnapping that led to the killing of 4 Western tourists.
Abu Hamza is a terrorist, in your opinion?
I would not say he's committing acts of terrorism, but he is a promoter, a provocative terrorist. And to laymen, to uneducated people, he is to me equal to those who commit the acts of terrorism.
Like bin Laden?
Like bin Laden, okay.
But Abu Hamza says he is not a terrorist.
Well, in a sense, it depends how you define terrorism, you see. We've been ordered in the Quran to terrorize tyrants, to terrorize evil policymakers, to terrorize those who are abusing earth and abusing the people of earth. That's an order in the Quran.
In Yemen, the call of men like Abu Hamza and Al-Qaeda continues to resonate. And the more I spoke to people here, the more I realized that Al-Qaeda's supporters were everywhere. In Sana'a, we dropped into an internet cafe. Right away, we found young men surfing jihadi websites. When we asked where we could find Al-Qaeda sympathizers, we were directed to Taiz. Taiz is a town in central Yemen where many of the 109 men currently detained by the Yemeni government are from. I asked some young boys if they recognized any of the men.
They recognize this man's face. He was arrested on the 16th of October. He was arrested in November.
He used to be a teacher. He used to work in the studio down the road.
We went off to meet one man who was recently released. Karim al-Adahi heads a family that has lost all its men. 3 of them were living in Afghanistan when the U.S. airstrikes began.
I don't have all the names straight, pardon me, but Muhammad was arrested. Riyadh was arrested. Riyadh's brother was arrested, Mahmoud, and now there's 2 others that you're telling me were arrested before.
Karim's brother and a brother-in-law one of bin Laden's bodyguards, were arrested in Pakistan after leaving Afghanistan. They are now in Guantanamo Bay. Another brother-in-law is still missing. His daughter Hamas is sitting here on the right.
Can you tell me the story of what happened to the
No one knows anything about him. His wife came back, and we only found out much later. His name has been placed in the martyrs list.
How did you feel on September 11th of 2001 when you heard the news?
كيف شعرت بأحداث سبتمبر 11 سبتمبر أحداث نيويورك أحداث البرجين؟
We were very, very happy. It was a feeling from inside, like victory, as if I had done it myself. And then the news came that it was Sheikh Osama. And they showed his picture and his oath. It gave us happiness. He eased a little of our great suffering.
Rahma Hujira is an activist and advocate for Yemen's detained Al-Qaeda suspects. Veiled and posing as a family member, she has visited 7 of them in jail. She writes articles and speaks out on their behalf.
What we all see in Osama bin Laden is the man who was able to take our revenge, to wipe our tears that have been falling for a long time for our brethren in Palestine and Iraq. Through him, divine justice was achieved when America was shaken on September 11th. I see it as divine justice.
After 9/11, Rahma says she became more strict about wearing the veil and says she now believes in Al-Qaeda.
I didn't used to think that I could support violence. When I saw the World Trade Center and the Pentagon burn, I cried. I fainted with joy. And I prayed that God would help whoever did this operation. I may support Al-Qaeda financially. I may support them with whatever I can. And if I have nothing to offer them, my last resort is to raise 2 or 3 children, maybe mine, to become Sheikh Osama bin Laden.
What do you think when you see and hear Osama bin Laden speak? In English, if you can.
In general, I love him too much. And also my son love him.
How old is your son?
7 years old. He want to become like Osama bin Laden. He want to kill the Israel and kill any American support the Israel. We hate the war. But if there are Americans people want to live in peace, maybe also I want to live in peace.
And if they don't?
I must revenge.
If things don't change, would you be willing to join Al-Qaeda?
Yes.
Back while we were in Islamabad, Ahmed Zaidan, Al Jazeera's bureau chief, showed us a tape of bin Laden and told us then that he believed he was still alive. Just last week, an audio tape was delivered to Zaidan's office. In the audio tape, bin Laden applauds a host of recent terrorist attacks. Whether the tape is real or not, our journey has told us that Al-Qaeda and the broader movement that bin Laden has inspired is still very much alive.
Next time on Frontline, critics agree it's all about cool.
Teens run today's economy.
Buying it and selling it.
The system closely studies kids to figure out what will push their buttons. Then it blares it back at them, relentlessly.
But what is this assault doing to America's teens?
Advertising always telling them they're creeps, they're losers, unless they're cool.
The Merchants of Cool, next time on Frontline. To obtain a VHS copy of In Search of Al Qaeda, call PBS Home Video at 1-800-PLAY-PBS.
Frontline is made possible by the annual financial support of PBS viewers like you. Thank you.